Hey everyone, welcome to Jessica Payne Live. Hope everyone is well. Sit down, grab a coffee, grab a cocktail. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes, but first off, hello, thanks for joining me live. It looks like we maybe have some Brandy there, which makes me very happy. Hello, Brandy. Give me a shout in the comments if you can hear me okay. We've got a special guest today, Hani Mourra. He's an inventor of all things amazing automation and repurpose. He's also a podcast host, so I'll bring him on in just a sec. If you are listening to me over on the podcast, thank you. My little engine that could. I've been getting a lot of subscribers there, so thanks. Maybe you're catching me over on YouTube or the highlights after every episode. In 30 minutes, I'm actually jumping over to Instagram to do my highlights. So wherever you are watching or listening, thank you, thank you. Don't forget to hit subscribe. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on our host today because we've got 30 minutes, and I really just want to give him the mic. His name is Hani Mourra. You may recognize him or at least the tools I've mentioned before. He created some amazing apps he's going to sort of dive deep into today with trends, but automation, and basically making us all work smarter, not harder. Try to shave off that time we spend maybe wasting it or maybe sitting there really confused week after week, trying to create more content or publishing our content or doing a lot of stuff by hand. He can help us automate that process, save time so that we can, run our businesses instead of being sort of in the pile of all of this manual work. So again, if you're watching me live, shoot in the comments if you can hear me real quick, just to make sure. Sometimes we get technical glitches. Otherwise, let me bring him on. Let me bring on Hani here. Hani Mourra, everyone. Let me make sure I get you on. Hani, welcome to the show. I feel like I've been using your apps, guys. Full disclosure, I am a paid affiliate because I am very, very happy with his products. But you're finally on the show.
That's
so
awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Awesome being here. Thanks, Jessica. I appreciate it.
So for folks who might not know who you are, would you mind just giving a quick intro and telling us just a little bit about yourself and maybe what inspired you to build these tools?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Hani Mourra. I'm up in Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
And I got involved. I've always been a software guy for many years. Studied computer software engineering way back in the day. But I've always been a video guy and content guy. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, after blogging for many years, and I decided, you know what, I've got to create a piece of software to help me automate some of this tedious work. So the first thing I ever built about 4 or 5 years ago was a WordPress plugin that takes your YouTube videos, puts them on to your website, because that was my biggest pain point. I hated the fact that I got to upload a video, put it on my blog. Anyway, long story short, just got into this groove of like just automating the tedious stuff and focusing on creating content. And that's kind of how we went up in the WordPress plugins. There's a whole bunch of tools in between, and now we're at our latest and greatest tool called Repurpose, which helps you do exactly what the software says. Repurpose your content automatically so you can just focus on delivering awesome content.
So I think that's super cool. You basically, you started off as a content creator. So I think that's important because you're an inventor, you're a podcaster, you're a content creator, you also run a business. You wear a lot of hats, which probably sounds familiar to people watching. But I love the fact that you came from a place of you were absolutely feeling the challenges. You were probably spending way too much time. It was probably really frustrating in the process. For me, one of my biggest challenges was the more manual labor I was doing, the less consistent it was. Yes. It would just look different every time because I got bored and tired and just wanted to finish, or the quality wasn't good. So you actually, I guess, the sign of a great inventor, you recognize the problem, and I'm guessing you probably searched for something that wasn't there and then decided to create it.
Yes, I searched for a solution. I looked, is there a tool that helps me automate this one thing which I hated doing?
Yeah.
And there wasn't, or, well, maybe there kind of was, but it wasn't exactly the way I wanted it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I can do it the way I want. I want to be able to capture email. I want to automate this process. I want to be able to capture email boxes below the video. I had specific marketing goals and things that I do manually, and I wanted to automate all those. So I decided, hey, you know what? Let me build something. And it's funny, I built it for myself, and then I was showing it to somebody who I was helping launch their podcast when I was starting into podcasting, and he's like, oh, this is brilliant. Yeah. I can use this. I can share this with my audience. And that's kind of how I started seeing other people using it and getting value, and it just got me more motivated. And that's what drives me is like people getting value and saving tons of time. Like you and I talked like a few minutes before, and you just told me like how much time it saves you, and it makes me feel good. Like, I mean, I know it's a business and you got to earn money and all, but the satisfaction really comes from just hearing stories like this, where you do save a ton of time, because this time that you're wasting is not generating your revenues. Your content is what's going to help you draw the audience that you want, not this clicking here, uploading here, downloading here, pasting, copy, all that tedious stuff. Just it is a waste of time.
I was hoping you could share with, because I think we can all relate. I can definitely relate. I relate every time I have to promote this show, before or after. I've got it down pretty much to a science now. But I remember when I first started out, honestly, before I started using your tools, but whether I use your tools or not, I remember it was like you spend all this time coming up with an idea for a show, and then you promote the show, and then let's say you have a great show, and then you sit there and go, oh, can I just be done already? And I feel like, oh, by the way, I have a business to run. So for me, I'm actually my content is actually very close to the business I run, because I'm a social media coach and digital marketer. But I know some of my clients are realtors. They run schools. They teach. They sell a retail product. They can't be in the studio all day doing this content, not to mention it's a steep learning curve. So I'm wondering if you could share off the top of your head let's say we sign up for the tools. We've got a couple of going. Is there any advice you could give to someone who's maybe first starting out, who's just really intimidated, probably not motivated with this whole thing we're all telling them to do, which is like, hey, you need to create social media content? Is off the top of your head, and I'm totally putting you on the spot. As a creator, is there any advice you could give to someone who's just starting out?
Yes, for sure. Just do it. No, everyone says just do it.
Everyone says that, and they're like,
no, but it's not that easy. I know, because you need ideas, you need content. The thing that I like to do, and this is what I was doing when I was starting coming up with content, is just pick, when you're making a video or piece of content, audio or video, use what you have tool-wise. Like you have a camera, you have a phone, use what you have. Don't worry about too much technology yet. Just focus on content. If you don't know what to talk about, maybe search Facebook groups, see what, people in your industry are asking questions. Like answering questions is the easiest thing you can do. If someone has a particular question, if you're a real estate agent, what's the top areas in my neighborhood, or what should I look for when I look for a house? Find these common questions on Facebook groups or Google searches. And then my biggest tip is just to pick one subject at a time. Like each video should just answer one question. And that way you have it's better to have a series of content, shorter bits of content, that have one long episode where you talk about everything. So from a content, from reaching out to bigger audiences and more people, having more smaller content is definitely better. And people's attention span is definitely shorter these days. So yeah, I guess find out if you don't have an email list. If you have an email list, ask them. You can do a simple 1 or 2 question survey. If you don't, then join Facebook group. That's how I did that when I got started into podcasting. I didn't know what podcasters wanted. And then when I created my podcasting tool, I joined the Facebook group and I listened and I helped people. And then I found out, wait a second, here's a little gap where I can build a little automation tool to help. So Facebook groups are really powerful. But don't just join in there and just be quiet. Join in there, participate, help people, but also listen to what's going on to help you get ideas for your industry.
Those are super. I'm literally jotting those down. So for any of you guys starting out, or maybe you've put your blog aside for a while, if you're like me, you like embrace something and then you overdo it, and then you forget about it for a week or a couple of months. So that's good advice. I think one of the biggest challenges I think for creators is like coming up with good content. And we might have a strong list starting out because we've sat down and we've done the homework. We've come up with maybe 10 great topics, and then we blow through those topics, and then it's like, now what? So that's great advice in terms of like where to hunt for new ideas. It's sort of go to the source. And I love how you brought up a specific example of what realtors can do. For some reason, realtors are really embracing social media. I work with a lot of realtors. I build their websites, and they get it. But I think it's because they understand social media is like, it's like our third arm. It's like where we live. So I love that you brought up a specific example. I'm going to see if we've got a couple questions to see, or comments you can just talk about. We've got Teresa, who is an educator. She works with kids. She says, I jumped into podcasting and sidelined the blog, automated it. So I love that.
Yes.
Any advice for someone jumping into podcasting or changing? It's kind of like changing a modality, changing a podcast. And I know for a fact she loves podcasting.
I mean, depending on the type of person you are, if you're a little camera shy, or you just, you are comfortable sitting in a room and talking in front of a microphone as opposed to being on camera, then podcasting is great. And podcasting is awesome from an audience perspective. You can reach out a lot, different types of people who are on the go, people who are driving, walking, exercising, doing their dishes. Those people cannot watch videos, right? They're out and about. So I'm a podcast listener. So I'm in the car driving. I don't turn on radio on. I listen to podcasts, and I love it. I enjoy it. So definitely, from a creator's perspective, it's a good way, especially if you're camera shy, it's a good way to create content. And then you can interview people quite easily. Again, they don't have to be on camera. You don't have to be on camera. So it's just one way to kind of avoid the camera if you're not comfortable, but also it's a great way to get your content out to people who don't have time to watch YouTube videos or sit in front of Facebook and watch Facebook Live video. Now, kind of all these platforms work together. So if you can kind of one of the ideas of repurpose is repurposing your content by creating it once and having it go to a podcast, go to YouTube, go to different channels automatically. And I think that's important. But I love podcasting. I got hooked on as a podcast listener, and it's been 5 years now, and I don't even turn on the radio in my car. It's too boring. Like, podcasts are just more engaging.
I'm hearing that from more and more people, especially whether they're in the car. Depends on the city you live in. I know folks who live like in Boston, for example. So they're on the subway commuting. I know a lot of commuters. That's like it's turned into podcast time. Here in LA, we're still sort of trapped in our cars, so I think we have a strong radio listenership, but it's either people are listening to NPR or podcasts now. I feel like, or when they go for a run. I know a friend of mine, he listens to my podcast when he runs. I'm like, I don't know how I'm motivational, and because I feel like I probably calm people down versus but he says it helps him keep pace. It keeps him calm and distracted when he goes for a run. So workouts. So maybe this whole phenomenon of like podcasting coming back around, this whole audio content. I think the fact that we're all trying to cram in so much and so busy, but we have our phones on us at all times. Like, podcasting has become its own entity now in terms of popularity.
Yes, it is. And it's more like people talk about mainstream. I've seen it. I laugh because my wife used to make fun of me. Well, she still makes fun of me for working out in the gym with listening to podcasts. Because I do the same thing. I'm lifting weights and listening to podcasts. She's like, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. I just get engaged in the content. I forget what I'm doing. I'm just, I enjoy it. But also, like, now I hear more and more TV shows, they mention the word podcasting. Because she thinks I'm a big geek. Oh, what are you doing podcasting stuff? Then we're watching like Grey's Anatomy or something, and the word podcast comes up. I'm like, oh yeah, they mentioned podcast. So it's becoming a little more mainstream. But the bottom line is you're reaching an audience that doesn't have time to sit in front of a computer. So it's great to have your content as a podcast if you have one. If you don't have one, think about it down the road to convert some of your videos into podcasts. But also, I'm not saying don't do video, because I think video is super important. So you want to try to get diverse with your content, because you want to try to reach as many people, and people who like to be in front of the computer and don't know what a podcast is. And you also want to reach people who are on the go, who want to listen to content through their phones.
Yeah. I want to hit on something you mentioned a little earlier, because I think I'm very conscious of the fact that part of my job as a social media coach is to encourage people to create social media content. I also feel how that's a direct challenge, because it's not always fun. So I understand what I'm telling people to do. I take my own medicine. One of the challenges I hear the most is people are saying, okay, you're telling me to write a blog, do a podcast, do a video. I can make time to do all that. Can you walk us through a little bit about your two tools that pop in my head that you've created, repurpose.io and Simple Social Press? Can you explain the difference between the two, but also just highlighting what you said before? Using these tools, it's not just like, okay, now I can move this to YouTube. You have tools that actually create this whole workflow to automate and move it to multiple platforms. So for example, you guys, I do my live show every week, okay? Jessica Payne Live right here on Facebook. I've set up several of Hani's tools automatically. I was doing this by hand before. I know that when I go to YouTube in probably less than an hour, this live broadcast will be there. It will have automatically been pushed to YouTube. I've also set up through Hani's tools, I'm going to automatically create an audio file of this that I then upload to my podcast. So within hours, I literally have this show sliced and diced and repurposed automatically in different formats. And just in case you're wondering if this works, I get people who join my show each week, and I always try to ask them, where did you find me? Some say the podcast, some say YouTube, some say this show, cross promoting. Can you kind of highlight the fact that it's not just like a one and done, right? Some of your tools actually explain the workflow and how it slices and dices content, because I know I get a lot of interest in that, but I don't know if folks actually understand what that means.
Yes, for sure. I'm just going to take one quick step back. So basically, I always tell people like, let's say you're doing Facebook Live as your primary source. Like, pick one primary source you're comfortable with. Let's just pick Facebook Live. You do a Facebook Live. You want to do several things. You want to upload that to YouTube for sure. Whether you do it manually with any tools. Forget about tools for a second. Let's just think about process. You want to do a Facebook Live. You get a lot of attraction and attention in your feed because you're live. After a day or so, you're nowhere to be found on Facebook. So having a copy on YouTube, download it and then upload it to YouTube. Awesome. That's where you want to do it. You have more life there, more searchable. Then you want to turn it into a blog post because you want people to consume content on your website. So you want to put a copy, embed the video on your blog. If you can capture email addresses, that would have been better. So have the content on your blog as well, because some people might come a few weeks later, months later, people who know you, who follow you, just another content they can consume. And then if you have an audio podcast or you want to start one, you can just take this Facebook Live, turn it into an audio, and then if you throw a quick intro, outro onto it, and then send that off to your podcast host. People use SoundCloud, people use Libsyn. There's a lot of different platforms out there for podcasting. Doesn't matter what platform you use, but you can take a show that you do on Facebook. You're going to have a YouTube video, you can have a audio podcast, and you can have a blog post. And the tools that I've been working on that Jessica mentioned earlier help you do all that automatically.
You're getting a couple of highs and hellos from the community.
Hey, Karinder, how are you?
It looks like Karinder's out there. Hey, Karinder.
Hey,
thanks for joining.
Karinder, how are you?
Yeah, and we've got contentmarketers.net. Thanks for joining, you guys. It's been nice. So yeah, you guys, I think the difference between, and I haven't seen other tools that do this. I know there are other repurposing tools, but what immediately attracted me to your tools was the fact that it had multiple uses. And I could calibrate how exactly I wanted them to work. Mm-hmm. So at first I was like, if I just have something that can save me the time from downloading my lives and re-uploading them to YouTube, that would save me tons of time, an hour right there, if that. And then I know that one of your tools did it. And then I read, I can actually extract the audio from it. And at the time I had set my podcast, like a lot of people, aside because mm-hmm. it was just one more thing I had to do. I didn't want to jump into, I think I was using GarageBand at the time. Again, I was thinking, wow, I should really do a podcast of today's show. That would be great. I don't have time to create this whole other thing. Mm-hmm. I read that your tool actually repurposed it. And that actually, I have to say, motivated me to pick my podcast back up. Because I was like, okay, so the fact that I've already recorded my podcast, mm-hmm. one and done. And that's what I love. And I think that's where the efficiency of your tool, it's not just repurposing. You're saving us time from having to recreate the same content like 5 different ways. Yes. with one switch, and I love that. And then I fell in love with the tool called Anchor is what I use to podcast. Right. And I know several of my followers here do it. It's one of many apps you can podcast, y'all. But what I do is I literally, as soon as my show's done, I just check, I've synced it to my Dropbox. I look for that audio file from your tool, and then all I do is drag and drop, and boom, I've recorded my podcast. I might do a little simple intro, but it saves me 3 hours with that alone.
Well, you'll love this because about a few weeks ago, we just added an option so you can add the intro and repurpose. So you can upload a generic intro outro, and we can automatically put that. So think about this. We take the audio, we add an intro and outro to it, then we send it to your Dropbox. So literally, you don't have to open anything on your computer. You can just drag that file from Dropbox. I already got the intro, outro, and giddy up. You're good to go.
Giddy up. I love that. And I definitely did write that down. It's like, there's two benefits to your tools. There's the technology, but then there's just the freedom of getting my time back. I mean, really, and I've turned on a few people to your tools. Guys, again, full disclosure, I'm a paid affiliate, but I'm proud to say it because, I mean, I probably would just be focusing on my show at this point and have kept my podcast aside and been ignoring my YouTube channel without these tools. Because you basically, up till now, we've had to kind of prioritize. And so I love the fact that with your tools, I'm actually able to take the minutes and I tell people to take. It's like, you can actually repurpose now on other platforms, and it's not as painful as it used to be, frankly, which I think this is what this is all about.
Yeah. And that's the whole idea is like, I always tell people, and this is what I learned when I was getting into video and video marketing. It's the content. It's not the tool. It's not, it's what you say and how you're helping people. You're solving their problems. You're answering their questions. You want to build that relationship, that trust with your audience. And they don't know what tool you use. They don't know. They just want to find your content, whether they like to read it, whether they like to listen to it or watch it. They want to find it, learn from you, connect with you, and ultimately get on your email list. And that's always been my thing. Like every tool I've built always had an email opt-in box or a way to drive people back to your website, because that's where true engagement happens. Is people find your content everywhere, whether it's on YouTube, audio, but you want to send them back to your home base where you can talk to them more via email once they sign up to your email list. So
that's a good tip.
It's always been like that. Like that's always been my strategy for whether you're putting content on my blog or content on outside, send people back to your site, get people on an email list. And that's very important. I mean, it's great to have, people commenting and everything, but if you want to have a real audience that follows you, that you want to have more two-way communication with them, email is the best way. So if you're not incorporating email or not capturing emails on your blog, you need to start.
Yeah, we sometimes forget that. We sometimes forget our call to action. That's another thing. But I think with repurposing or setting up, once you automate a good process and you remember to include all these ingredients, it's almost like, it's not set it and forget it, but it's sort of like, don't forget your call to action. And that was something I'd forget half the time to include my call to action when I was doing all this stuff by hand, because you just want to get through the content. You just want to push it out. Or I'd go to bed and be like, I completely forgot Twitter today. Excellent. It's sort of like you do all this work. I don't know if you can speak to it, but Corinder has a question about, it sounds like API and repurpose IO. I wonder if he's asking if it is coming to other platforms or.
Yeah, we talked in the past about opening up an API so other softwares can connect to it.
Yeah,
we're still thinking about that. We had nothing in development. Well, we're always adding more integrations to repurpose. Like for example, we recently added Libsyn. So if you're a podcaster using a Libsyn, you can literally do a Facebook Live and then it will show up on your podcast feed. So you don't even need to manually upload it, do anything. It will show up on Libsyn, which is one of the podcast hosts, which means it's live on your feed, which means iTunes, Stitcher, all these Google Play, all these Spotify, they get notified automatically. So literally you can, after this live is done, you can have a podcast episode live if you want to take it that far with an intro and outro already added to it. So it's pretty sweet. So we're adding that. We're adding very soon Twitter. We mentioned Twitter a few minutes ago. So
yes, please share.
Twitter and snippets. So people want to have like shorter snippets of audio out. Sorry, this is more targeting for audio podcasters. So we take an audio podcast. Sometimes you don't want to publish the whole episode. You want to trim it down to 30-second clip and shoot that off to Twitter as a video. So for those who don't know, repurpose can take an audio file and go to make it into a nice looking video as well. So for those who don't have a live video, but are only audio podcasters, we can make a nice moving video with some animated waveforms and customizable templates. You set that all up once, and then every single audio episode can go as a video to YouTube, to Facebook, and soon as a snippet to Twitter as well.
Yay. Is there an ETA, or should we just watch the space for that?
I'm hoping there's a podcasting conference coming up at the end of July, and I'm really hoping to get that out before then, because I want to kind of show it off and demo it off at the conference. So hoping end of July. No promises, but hoping it's in the works already. So I feel good about it.
That's super. I'm so stoked about that because if there's anything I could be doing more on Twitter, I'm very social on there, just sort of like casually or personally every now and then with insights. But I'd love to push my content more. So that makes me very happy. And I don't know if you can speak to Instagram at all. It's a totally different animal. But I do get questions in terms of, I think one of folks' biggest challenges right now is creating content specifically for Instagram, or more importantly, repurposing content that is appropriate for Insta. I'm seeing a lot of people trying to post the same content and not tailoring it. So I think that, I don't know if you can speak to Instagram at all, if you have an interest in that or any insights, but
we've had a lot of requests for it. From a technical integration, they don't allow
Right.
well, they don't legally allow you to upload. They don't allow third-party softwares to upload to Instagram. You'd have to do it yourself through your phone. I know there's some apps out there that kind of work around that. So I don't really know how they do that or how they get away with that, I should say. But what we say is we have integrated Dropbox, which means I can take any video or audio that Repurpose creates off the Dropbox. And then, if you have an audience on LinkedIn, for example, you can take that Dropbox video, you can upload it to LinkedIn. If you have an audience on Instagram, you can probably trim it down a bit and upload it to Instagram. If I'm not aware of any tools, but I'm pretty sure somebody's created a tool to work around uploading videos to Instagram.
I haven't seen it yet. Watch this space.
Yeah, the Dropbox is kind of the idea of like, all right, we haven't integrated this yet, but you can have it in Dropbox and do what you like with it.
I love that. You touched on a trend right now, snippets. Can we talk about that for a couple more minutes before I let you go?
Yeah, for sure. All right. I have a bit of a technical glitch. I'm not sure if it's my end or not. Oh, I think we lost Jessica. All right. And she's coming back. It's a content maker is saying, cool, I need to start pulling my audios for some of my clips too. Yeah, audio is great. Yeah, she froze. I'll keep talking for a few minutes until she comes back. So yeah, audio's like podcasting is awesome. Like it's
How
a
am I?
great platform. Now you're back. Sorry.
All right.
Filling in the void.
I love it. Hani, just like, you went right in there, man. I love it. I can tell you used to be live. So, hey, folks. Yes, content makers was saying I need to start pulling my audio for some of my clips.
Yes.
So you're inspiring people. What I said before I froze was, before I let you go, you mentioned snippets. I think one of the new trends right now is we're I'm certainly trying to encourage more folks to kind of less is more, or as you slice and dice your content, you can make abbreviated versions that can then pull people to maybe the longer content. So whether that's a snippet on Twitter, like you were just talking about, I do, my podcast includes this show, which typically runs around 30 minutes, but then I'm doing these shorter walk and talks, these 3 minutes. And sometimes those episodes I've got a lot more listens to those than others. Can you talk a little bit about either what you've experienced in terms of the bite-sized content seems to be the trend right now? Shorter?
It does. And I think it's due to attention spans. Like people have a very short attention span and they want to get right to the point. I mean, when I got into video, first thing I started my video blog like 9 years ago, and it was the first thing I learned and I teach is give the answer right away. Like you say, I'm going to teach you how to do this. Here's how to do this. Like people want instant gratification. So they want to know what you're teaching, give them the answer, and then you can elaborate more and go a little more detail. So if you're doing shorter clips, just, if you're talking about, what to look for in a house, top 3 things to look for when looking for a new house, here are the top 3 things. Like, don't beat around the bush. Don't like lead people on. Just say, here's the answer. Here's the top 3 things you need. And then you can elaborate and go more and give a little more detail. But short bite-sized content. But you want to have a call to action. Don't forget the call to action. Say, hey, you want to listen to the full episode, or you want to check out more episodes, head over to jessicapayne.us or .com, or get people to know that you're available on other platforms with more in-depth content so that you can engage with them further and hopefully get them on an email list. And that's, to me, the ultimate goal.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we've got a couple of trends here. I think that are important to remember it, and I'm just going to wrap them off as you've said them because it's good. It's a good lesson for me. Don't forget that call to action because at the end of the day, we do all this hard work and we're trying to get people to do what we want them to do, whether it's subscribe or buy or
But just
donate.
that's another tip. One call to action. People say, follow me on Twitter and then on Instagram and then click on here and then do this. And it's like, oh my God, what do you want me to do? So
Yeah.
just tell people one thing, like always have a goal. This piece of content, I want them to come to follow me on Instagram. That's it. Like just tell them, hey, follow me on Instagram or follow me on Twitter. Just one call to action per video or per piece of content, just because people don't like when there's too many options, they don't know what to do.
Yeah. That piece of advice was given to me from a colleague not too long ago. So guys, like I have been in the industry 15 years and sometimes I forget. I think we all get excited. We're like, okay, I'm going to send them to my website, then my podcast that I just started that I'm really excited about. It's like, no, if anything, it's like go back to square one, link to everything on your website, push them maybe to one central page. So like for me, you guys, I'll say jessicapayne.us where you can find my social handles, unless it's something specific, like if I'm promoting my course or whatnot. Teresa made a great comment I just want to leave us with. She says, in terms of the bite size, the snippets, she says, it drives me crazy when I opt into a training and it takes the presenter 30 minutes to get into the content. I think people are just like, just get to it, right?
I want the answer. Like, give me what I want. And I think especially with snippets, that's even more important. They don't, hey, I'm walking here and it's a beautiful day outside. I'm like, dude, I came here to watch this video. Tell me what I came here for. Then they're engaged, and then you can elaborate more and give more details.
Yeah, it's sort of like, unless you're a celebrity where we literally would like to see how you're interacting in the real world and taking a walk. Like, I'd like to take a walk with Beyonce, but I don't think people would want to have a 20-minute intro for me taking a walk. So it's sort of, there's a lot more pressure now to just get to it, right? Like I've made a conscious effort to cut down my intros too. Like today, I quickly thank people from where they're finding me. And then it's like, I have to get Hani on because I only have 30 minutes. Speaking of which, we're probably going to power down in a sec. I just want to make sure we honor all these comments. It looks like, oh guys, and in the comments, I have put a link to, it is my affiliate link, full transparency, but it is a link to Hani's tool that helps me push my show to my blog every week. I get at least 5 questions about that each week. People are like, how do you get your video to your blog? They're like, I have this great tool. And once people discover it, they're like, oh my God, it's changed my life. So I've linked to that in the comments if you guys want to check it out. That's the tool I use. There's no magic. That's the tool I use. A couple of more comments, content makers. On the same token, I would not be too worried about long videos. Once you have a strong following, give them more. I think that's the point, right?
For sure. Like some like Twitter and Instagram, people want like instant gratification, but the whole idea is to get them on to your site to consume more content and hopefully like you better, trust you better, to get you to leave their email with you and get on your email list. So definitely long content's good. Don't hold back.
Yeah, just give them choice.
And on the platform, like platform specific. On Facebook, you can put longer videos. Instagram, Twitter. Well, Twitter won't even let you upload long videos. That's probably why they keep it short on purpose. But it's kind of feel your audience out. What platform you're on, you may need to tweak the length a little bit.
So, Hani, before I let you go, any parting words, and where can folks get to know you better, follow your content? Because I know, like you said, you're heading to a podcast conference soon. Where can people follow you, subscribe?
Yeah, for sure. I've been basically head into software a lot, so I haven't been producing too much content. But if you head on to hanimourra.com, just HANIMOURRA.com, it's got links to all the tools I've been working on, but also links to my Facebook, and I have a blog on there that's kind of outdated. I'm not gonna lie, I've been too busy doing software, but would love to connect and just say hi. Also, my Twitter link is on there. So if you have any questions, tweet me or friend me on Facebook, and I'm happy to answer.
And he's very nice, and he does friend back. I've just put Hani's website in the comments, you guys, so you can definitely check him out. Check out his podcast for sure. You've just got a ton of great content, and if anything, whether you're into podcasting or not, just Hani, you're such a great example of a creator. I think we all can just learn just kind of by your style and how you do it. So Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'd love to have you back. I think you've given us some good nuggets. I think we all have some homework to do. If you guys are interested in the tools, if you're maybe just joining at the back end of the show, check the comments. I've linked to it in there, or reach out to me. I can put you in touch with Hani, or just follow him on social.
That's awesome. Well,
cool
thanks.
beans. All right, you guys. Well,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm going to let you go, Hani. Thanks for joining us today, and hopefully you'll come back on another episode.
Yeah, anytime. And thanks for all the great questions and comments.
Yeah, sure. You guys, if you are watching on the replay and you do have questions for Hani, you can still leave them in the comments. I'll make sure that we get them to him. Otherwise, guys, I'm going to jump right now, as promised, to Instagram. I do a little highlight reel. So I'm just going to drop maybe 2-3 tokens of what your words of advice today, Hani, over on Insta, just in case folks haven't found us here yet. But other than that, guys, have a great day, great week. And Hani, thanks so much. And we'll be watching your podcast report from the conference.
All right.
No pressure. All right, you guys have a good one. Thanks for watching Jessica Payne Live. I'll see you next week.